Hey everyone, this is a video review on writing 2 diminished 6 to 5/7 to 1 in C minor. Okay, so as we always do, let's start by figuring out what notes should be placed in each of these chords. For the 2 diminished chord in C minor, the notes are D, F, and A flat. Okay, and also, by the way, notice that I've already put in the key signature for C minor. Okay, back to the 2 chords, so D, F, and A flat. Okay, this is in first inversion, so the bass, let's put the bass down, and that's going to be the F. Okay. Next, the 5/7 chord. Okay, notice that it's a 5/7 to 1 in root position for both. Okay, so either the 5/7 here or the 1 here has to be incomplete. So we'll figure that out later. But for now, we know that the bass has to be some kind of a G. So let me put that down. Okay. And the 1 chord in C minor is C, E flat, G. So let's put the bass note down for that as well. Okay, so the bass line is done. Let's go back to the 2/6 chord. Okay, again, the notes are D, F, and A flat. Okay, so I'll again try to be in close position, and let's start with the soprano on the A flat. And then since this is a 2 diminished chord in first inversion, okay, the note to double here is the bass. So I'm going to double that F. And let's put in the alto. Okay. And then the only other note that's left is the root of the chord, the D. So let's put that in the tenor. So very good close position. Okay, everything is as close together as possible, and the upper 3 voices. Okay, and you're doubling the bass here, the F. Okay, next, let's take a look at the 5/7 chord. The notes here, a complete 5/7 chord is G, B natural, D, and F. But since, again, this is a root position progression from 5/7 to 1, let's make the 5/7 chord incomplete so we avoid any problems with parallel fifths. Okay, so that means we're going to double the root, so 2 Gs. We're going to have the B natural, and then we'll also have the 7th, which is the F. Okay. So let's start by keeping our common tones. Okay, there's one common tone here in the alto part. Okay, so that F, we can just keep that in the next chord as the 7th, okay? And then when we're doubling, we're doubling the root of the chord here, the G. So let's move our soprano line down to a G, okay? That's the closest one. Closest distance to the next chord tone. And then the only thing that's left here is the B natural and the tenor, right? Maybe I'll move that. There you go. So that's a little neater. Okay, so that's the incomplete 5/7 chord. Okay, you have 2 Gs, a B natural, and an F. Notice that there's no 5th, no D, okay, involved in this. Okay, so everything looks good. Let's check our perfect intervals. We have perfect octave between the bass and the soprano, and that's approached by contrary motion, so that's fine. And that's the only perfect interval we have. The spacing looks good, the voicing looks good, there's no voice crossing, so we're good. Okay, let's finish this up. Next, for the 1 chord, I know the notes are C, E flat, and G, okay? And the very next thing we should do, the next step, is to see if there are any common tones, okay? And there's indeed a common tone in the soprano voice, the G we can keep. Okay, and then I'm going to move this down a little bit so you can see a little better for the time being. And then let's take a look at resolving our tendency tones. Okay, so there's a leading tone in the alto voice that you can resolve to the tonic. Oops, let me put that down here. Great. And then the 7th is in the alto voice, so that should resolve down to the E flat. Okay. Actually, usually I would look at tendency tones first and then keep common tones, but either way, both of these things needs to be thought of. Okay, so that's our complete one chord, all right? And then you have, let's check our perfect intervals. You have a perfect octave between the bass and the tenor, okay? And that's approached by contrary motion, which is fine. And then you have a perfect interval, the perfect fifth between the tenor and the soprano, and that's oblique motion because we're keeping the common tone in the soprano voice. And then also, by extension, there's also a oblique motion into the perfect fifth between the soprano and the bass voice, again, because the soprano voice is keeping that common tone. So that's an example of a 2 diminished 6 to 5 7 to 1 in C minor. And notice that for this example, I chose to make 5 7 the incomplete chord.